Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast, where today, sitting in with me is Mr. Felix Cavaliere. Felix has celebrated more than 50 years in music. He has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of the Young Rascals, later, of course, the Rascals. As a key songwriter, as well as singer and keyboardist, he has earned 4 #1 hits, 10 top 20 singles, 6 top 20 albums, a Grammy nomination, just a wealth of accolades. In addition to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he has been inducted into the Hammond Organ Hall of Fame, the Hit Parade Hall of Fame, the Musicians Hall of Fame, the Grammy Hall of Fame, and maybe most importantly, the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Felix has an autobiography out called Memoir of a Rascal, from Pelham, New York to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he has also just released a new solo record called Then and Now. He is busy, busy, busy. It is my great honor to welcome Felix Cavaliere to the show. Felix, how are you, sir?
I'm well, thanks. Yes, thanks for
Good.
that wonderful introduction. Appreciate it.
I try to make these short, but with you, it's tough. I didn't even scratch the surface with all of that. It's crazy, all the things you've done in your career.
Well, it's a long one, that's for sure. Thank God I'm still doing it.
Yeah, and you are doing it hard and heavy, my friend. Uh, the book out last year, right?
Yeah,
Then and Now, just out. Uh,
yeah,
it's great to see you active. So many people are not, or don't make
yeah,
it this far. You've given us so much music and so many
yeah.
great things to enjoy over the years, and we appreciate that as fans for sure.
Well, it's not only my pleasure, but I enjoyed every moment of it. Let me tell you.
And that is great to hear. Not everybody does that either. There, of course, in this music business, there's rough times. And you had some of those with the Rascals for sure. But you guys always seem to pull it out and keep making music, and it's great. Then and Now, you kind of celebrate that. You celebrate,
Yeah.
your influences and what you're doing now and continuing on. You do 5 of your own songs, 5 covers. How do you come to choose those songs and those covers? I mean, you're influenced by so many great things. How do you choose those songs?
Well, that was very difficult, and you try to figure, well, okay, let me see. Should I start with songs? Should I start with vocalists? Should I start with, eras? Well, for example, in the tune "Higher and Higher," Jackie Wilson
Hmm.
said, "Well, I better do a different version because nobody sings like Jackie Wilson." You know, so let me slow it down a little bit. Uh, some of the other songs, like the Clarence Carter, that's got a little history with me because being on Atlantic Records, I can remember vividly when I first heard that. One of the A&R people over there. So I just got this. This was years ago. I just got this from down south. Man, you got to check it out. I think he was from Alabama, and it stuck with me. And then, of course, we have a little bit of obscurity there with "Searching for My Love." Well,
Mm.
the interesting thing about that, it was a fellow by the name Bobby Moore. I think he might also have been from Alabama, but it was mostly a Southern hit. I don't know that it really got up north. But the interesting thing is, Robert Plant just did a recent album with Alison Krauss,
Yeah,
and that's on there.
it
You know,
is.
and I said, "Wow, there's a coincidence." So it was tough picking those songs. Benny King is another one of my favorite human beings, as well as like a tremendous influence on learning how to sing. Ray Charles, oh my God. When I first heard Ray Charles, I was coming from a classical kind of like upbringing, and I said, "Wow, what is this?" I had no idea what that was that he was playing, but I was going to learn it, and that was really like one of the first things that inspired me.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Of course. Ray
Mhm.
is incredible. And you do Marianne, which is really cool too. And, like Slip Away, Clarence Carter, these are a little deeper. This,
Right.
yeah, it's not the usual songs that we hear, maybe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And first of all, it'll inspire people. So, well, let me go check out the rest of this guy's catalog. Well,
right.
you're in for quite a treat.
Yeah. No doubt, no doubt. It's quite a catalog for each of those, for sure. And Bobby Moore, and the Rhythm Aces, that's an unusual track as well. Even though, yeah, Robert Plant covering it sure really shocked me when I saw it on his record. Because it's cool that it made it, over to England as
Absolutely.
well,
Absolutely.
really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great. These are timeless classics. When you were choosing your songs, did you like, for example, Spanish Harlem has that Latin influence. Did you want your songs to reflect those songs directly?
As much as I could, I mean, that's a hard thing to do,
Right,
this whole album really happened as a result of the pandemic locking us in our homes, and
right,
so it really helped all of us, because basically I used my band members. I had a couple of additions in terms of vocalists and people that could play different instruments, but for the most part, we were locked up. So we did it online, and
yeah,
thank goodness we were able to do that, because wow, everything stopped, all our work stopped, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I
yeah.
tried to make them kind of show a little bit of a theme. That really didn't work on all of them, but the thought was there.
Yeah. Okay. And I want to go to that aspect of it, the recording aspect. It's different from what you're used to doing in your career.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
getting in the studio, using the analog equipment and the big equipment and the big rooms. Now you do it right here. It's pretty incredible, what you can do with that modern technology. And I want to focus on two songs in particular where I think you did that, but you had two really different results, and that's Along the Way and Soul Love. Along the Way, I've heard you use some loops. It's got a really modern feel to it, very different from what you've done in the past. And then Soul Love, done on a laptop, if I'm not mistaken, has a really traditional sound like
correct.
you've done in the past. So you're using the technology for two different sounds. Was that something that was a little bit off the path for you?
Basically, I moved down to Nashville here because I really wanted to continue songwriting and creativity. I think really keeps all the brain cells alive.
Hmm.
So basically, we've got what we call DAWs. They're like what you make music on a computer. I have this one called Reason. You know, Reason, it came out of I think it came out of Europe, Switzerland or Germany, and it's used by a lot of producers. And what it is basically is like a very easy way to do the techniques you do in a studio, which are, instead of being, as you say, analog, they're plugins. They're little software programs.
Hmm.
So I threw on a loop, a drum loop, and there's so many of them. I heard this
Right.
cool beat. Well, let's write a song around it. And I took that over to the people I was working with, and this very lovely lady who does a lot of European music. Sharon Vaughan is her name.
Okay.
Uh, we started writing this song, and it just flowed. It just flowed right out.
Yeah.
There's something about down in Nashville here, when we meet people, instead of saying come on let's go have a cup of coffee, they say come on let's go write a song, which is really healthy. The other song there, the Soul Love you're talking about, these two young fellas from Toronto. They came down to Tennessee. They wanted to write with me. Luke McMaster was the artist, and I've got a fairly decent studio here in my home, and they said, well, that's cool. We brought our laptop. And I said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, we preferred, we'll do it on our laptop. I was amazed. I said, well, okay. I mean, like I've heard about it, let's do it. So I kind of learned, how they go about it, got the idea. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I say, it's two different. They were actually doing a project that was based on some of us who are in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. They did myself, and they did Lamont Dozier before he passed. It
Yeah.
was kind of a program that they were filming and everything, writing with I guess the old people, I guess.
The great songwriters of
But
our
it was fun. It was really fun. They were great. They were really good kids, and they, like I say, they were talented, very talented.
yeah. And that's, that had to, did it take time for you to trust that process a little bit? Like, what are these guys doing? Is this going to work? Did you have your doubts?
Well, I didn't really have doubts because I had dabbled in it a little bit. It's just that like the techniques that are involved, they require a bit of tech knowledge, and I'm okay. I get there,
Right.
but I'm not going to be an engineer anytime soon.
Right. Yeah. And it's a great addition, I think, to your music. I love So Love. It's probably my favorite track on the record.
It's a good track. Yes, I appreciate that. Yeah, as I say, it's kind of amazing what we can do here today, and it's non-ending. In other words, this is continually evolving, better and better. I just received from Hammond organ a new Hammond organ, which it weighs 20 pounds.
A little bit different than your B3, maybe.
Oh man, it's so cool. And you know what? It doesn't sound bad at all.
Yeah.
I understand, a lot of people I know are using it. The Vanilla Fudge, Mark Stein's using it. I think Rod Argent uses one as well.
Wow.
So yeah, so we got some good people playing it.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. And I've heard that, from Stevie Van Zandt, of course, they hated you in New Jersey for the B3, the roadies, yeah, that thing was a monster.
Yeah.
To have it contained in something that small, it's pretty great. It gives a lot of people opportunity to, and you're an influence on that instrument in particular.
Right.
Do you because you learned piano, you're a classically trained pianist. When you move to the Hammond, um, it's a different feel. It's the Hammond B3 when you hear it. There's no mistaking it. When you did that, did you find a home in that particular instrument?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was the warmth of that really captured you.
Well, what happened basically is I a friend of mine many years ago invited me to a club in New Rochelle, New York, and I heard for the first time an organ trio, and basically it was an organist who was playing bass, singing, playing rhythm on his left hand, and he was playing lead when necessary on the right, a drummer and a sax. And they sounded like a full band because, in fact, they were a full band.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, what a cool thing,
Yeah.
I've got to learn it. I've got to find it. Well, unfortunately, it wasn't that easy to find, because I was about 16, So I found it in New York City at a Macy's. And, I just was enthralled by this instrument. Wow. First of all, it was a little expensive. It was expect about $3,000 at least then, just for the organ, and then to learn it, but once I did learn it, I found like an orchestra available under my hands, and I said, wow, this is really, really cool.
Yeah. And it's one of my favorite instruments ever. To listen to is just like I say, it is what it is. There's nothing like it. Just crazy great. Now your autobiography, Memoir of a Rascal, Pelham, New York to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You talk about so much of your life, and it's so enjoyable. I feel like you take our hand and walk us through your great life, with your mother and the Swamiji, and these are all so important to you, and I thank you for opening up that, and I enjoyed it so much.
Well, thank you. That's great.
It really was a beautiful story. It's a success story, a positive story. It's what the world needs, really. um,
Yeah,
yeah,
as much as we can get in the positivity, boy, I'll tell you.
for sure. And it was. I felt a warmth from this book. Is beautiful. But there are a few things in the book that. Well, you're not going to cover your entire career in a book. But there's a few things that I've heard, and I'd like to talk to you about.
Sure.
Keith Moon. There is a story of a
Ah,
night in the Scotch of St. James nightclub in London. The drum set's moving around. It wasn't tacked down. Keith Moon comes up on stage, doesn't he? Tell me
hmm.
about that.
Well, that was a long time ago, but
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of that kind of fades into. Well, we had a few encounters with Keith Moon and the Who.
Yeah.
That particular one, uh, I guess Dino was involved in that. My dear friend Dino, who passed. But
Yeah.
what I remember about Keith Moon is, you see, we had a guy that could qualify as just as crazy as Keith Moon. That was Eddie Brigott.
Yeah.
And so the stories that I remember is in meeting them on the road and having Eddie and Keith try to contain the two of those people on the road was pretty interesting because first of all, they got along real well. Second of all, I think they understood each other. They really understood each other. And it was kind of an exciting thing because I remember one time working with the Who in Chicago, and I remember opening up their dressing room door, and they were having a fist fight. And
Just
and
for
and
fun.
and it continued until the road manager come in and said, "All right, mates, we're about to do," you know, and it stopped. But it's great. We have uh, like a protege of Keith in Zach Starkey, like Ringo's son,
Yeah.
who was taught by him, and kind of gave him a drum. I guess his father was probably too busy, and so
Right.
he bonded with Keith.
Man.
But yeah, just like I remember a story like that with Dino on stage as well. We were at the Shea Stadium, and sometimes they have these stages that evolve, spin, rotate,
Right.
and as it was rotating, his drums were falling off, you know, and so he had to try to keep his beat on the hi hat and the cymbal without falling off. That was something like happened in that nightclub.
Yeah. I guess Keith, from what I heard, Keith came up and held his bass drum in place so it wouldn't slide. Uh,
Yeah, which happened a lot. A lot of times, like people don't realize in the beginning sort of rock and roll bands going out and playing, everything had to be learned.
right.
Now it's like, for example, when we did the Fillmore out in California, the West, which was probably one of the most advanced places for its time. They were aware of lights, they were aware of sound,
Yeah.
and we had what they call risers behind the stage, where, in other words, like Dino and I were up on a box. We were up on a box. Well, going on stage in the dark, I fell.
Right.
I mean, I really could have hurt myself pretty bad because it was pretty high, those risers. Well,
Yeah.
now we have people with flashlights taking you up to stage.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll learn that. Write that one down.
Yeah. Well, you only make that mistake once, right?
It was an interesting time. I mean, it was like experimental. As a matter of fact, I think we were with the Doors at that time. Uh, and say, yeah, there was a lot of fun and a lot of unknowns, but for the most part, it was kind of like a wonderful feeling of acceptance by the audiences and by excitement from the audiences and appreciation from the audiences. There wasn't so much like, nasty. It was,
Yeah.
everybody was pretty high, I will admit,
Well,
you know.
yeah. Yeah, but I think the difference now is we're very used to, we expect something. We're very used to seeing live music, and it's one show after the other. It's kind of like records, it was an event when I went and bought a record. I brought it home, I unwrapped it, I looked at it, I put it down, I dropped the needle. It was a whole day almost event. Now, I just click a button and I get whatever music I want. So it's not as, it seems less important to a lot of people. And I think that might be the same thing where, back in the day, you had a concert and it was a big deal, and they
Yeah.
came to your town and they played for you, and there was that excitement. Now, it's every night there's a show to go to, and it takes away a little bit maybe.
Well, interestingly enough, the album that we're talking about here, like I finished it, we had it done, and then my manager said, "Well, you got to do vinyl." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Man, vinyl is really happening."
Hmm.
And I said,
It
"Are you
is.
sure?" And he said, "Yes." Well, it took me literally a year and a half to get the vinyl pressed,
Yeah.
because you see, what people don't realize is that until very lately, there were no new pressing plants. They were all the old ones from the 60s and 70s.
All right.
So they were booked up, solid with Beyonce and Taylor Swift. I mean, they didn't have room for too much. So we had to wait. But I was trying to figure out, why. And I think you just hit on it. I think people are sick and tired of having something stream through the airwaves and then disappear into thin air. Oh,
Yeah.
we've got it on our phone, or our iPad, but it's not the same as what you're talking about. Going and buying a big book and
Mhm.
reading it and looking at it and owning it, put it in your stash, which I see you've got quite a collection behind you there, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I like to have a little bit of everything. I
you
like to
got it,
feel
bro.
it. I like to smell it. I like to feel it. I like the sound of it. Just everything like that. Yeah, it's an
Hey,
event. Like I say, I make it an event. It's important, and it
well,
should be
that's
important.
great.
You know,
That's great.
I'm
We
so
used to be
glad.
like that. We
Yeah,
used to be like that.
I'm so glad you did vinyl, because that gives people a chance to get the record, open it up, smell it, feel it. It's a hard copy. I got a digital copy of the book, and I'm going to invest in the hard copy now, because I want to
You
feel
want to
it.
have it.
I want to turn those pages. I want to, that sensory for me is important. So yeah, it's great that you put the vinyl out. We're happy about that for sure.
Well,
Uh,
thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah. One other thing, Vince Cusano, uh, otherwise known, uh,
Great.
we know him as Vinnie Vincent. Of course, Kiss fans will know that for sure. You did some work with him in a band called Treasure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing an album up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, which I believe is where he's from.
Uh,
I was doing it with a member of Blood, Sweat, and Tears by the name of Fred Lipsius. And it was primarily an instrumental album, because he was a saxophonist and an arranger. And I said, we could really use like a guitar on this. And the proprietor, his name was Paul Lecca. He had been around for many years, had a little studio, and he brought this young kid in. And I said, "Oh my God, this young kid plays really, really well." That's how that started. I had a relationship with him because of that, and I also had this other young fella that used to come to my house and drive me crazy. Who was a drummer. Jack Scarangella was his name. He used to come and tap on my. See, I lived right across the street from the high school, so,
okay.
at least when I was growing up. So there was no escaping, the high school people. So I when my band broke up, I said, look, man, let me try something, and I went and did a little solo career. I had that song, "Only a Lonely Heart Sees," and
Mhm.
then I was on the label with this group Boston, and I
Yeah.
said, man, let's do something, why not, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, as a matter of fact, because I didn't
Sure.
have to worry so much about playing because I kind of leaned on those guys to do most of the playing, and especially since he's really a fine guitarist. I
Yeah.
mean, he can play any type of music besides the metal.
Right, right. And that's, yeah, it was clear from what I've heard for sure. And the Treasure album, very different.
Yep.
In that AOR classic rock feel, the Boston feel. How much of that how much did you write of that when you were doing it?
Well, I did it all. I mean, like I say,
Wow.
I just I just had a good time with it, because
Yeah.
when you're with a group, as we had, in the past, uh, the public really wants you to stay rooted in what you do or
Yeah.
what you did. And okay, I mean, we were quite prolific in terms of like variants, thanks to the Beatles, because everything they did was different.
Yeah.
But it still locks you down a little bit. So to get unleashed and to go out there and do what you want, why not? I wanted to do it. It was a little difficult because, as I say, the public, they kind of like you to stay where you're at. They
Right.
don't really like too much change. Well, okay, tough.
That- it was quite different from you, and I really, really enjoy it.
There's some good parts of that. I listen to "I Want to Love You"
Yeah,
a lot, man. Because man, he played that thing. Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah.
Yeah, he's down here in Nashville also, by the way.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I've seen him in recent years, and it's a little bit different. He's a different guy. So yeah, but it's great to it's great that you have that time with him and you enjoyed it. That was really great.
Oh yeah. Well, it's an interesting story. Is
Yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah, for sure, for sure. You mentioned Woodstock in the book. Turning it down. You don't really go through it too much. Was that, yeah, it was that something you don't want to talk about.
No, it's something I don't want to write about. I don't mind
Yeah,
talking about it. You know,
yeah.
you know.
What
Uh,
was that discussion like?
well, it really wasn't much of a discussion, because our manager at that time, he pretty much made the decisions. Even though like I like to think that he would, kind of sit down with me and talk to me about it. I don't even remember him talking to me about that. I
Okay.
think he felt it was just too much uh, danger or too much confusion, or I think he made a big mistake.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Is that Sid?
now we would have been all right. I mean, it was a total chaos. I mean, believe me, I can imagine. You can imagine logistically trying to get a Hammond organ in there. Oh
Yeah.
my God, yeah, yeah,
No
it
doubt.
probably exactly. But it was something that it turned out to be an error. In terms of like, well, you should have done it because, oh well, hey, you know
Yeah.
what? I should have bought Polaroid stock when they first came out too.
Right, right. Hindsight is 2020 for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And that was Sid, right? Your manager at
That
the
was
Sid
yeah,
person? Yeah.
yeah. It's really interesting. I don't know if people realize the importance of management.
Mm,
When you say music business, there's a business attached to the music.
yeah,
And in my opinion, most of the super groups had a great manager.
yeah, yeah,
Great manager, like for example, Zeppelin. I mean, Peter Grant. I mean, like,
yeah.
first of all, he protected them like they were his children.
Right.
Second of all, you never saw Zeppelin on TV. You only paid to
Yeah,
see them. That was his
yeah.
choice.
Wow.
And without having somebody that really has a vision, okay, you do the same thing that you did last year, which was work on the road. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say.
Yes, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about that. You're signing to Atlantic Records, a decision, a big decision, because a lot of major labels wanted you at the time. You chose Atlantic Records. It was a little bit less, maybe, in terms of the money, but you got creative control and you retained your publishing. That is something that was uncommon probably back in the day.
Very.
And a lot of bands fell into that pitfall. I think musicians now are a little bit smarter because of the mistakes that were made in the past, are a little bit more aware of, publishing rights and things like that. Was that Sid and the band talking about the deal with Atlantic and making sure that you had creative control?
Well, when I first formed, the band, being a college student at the time, I kind of like, well, let me get a book. And there was a book called This Business of Music. I don't know if you're aware of that book.
No.
It's been around for decades. And it was written by, I think, two lawyers. It's still published. It's got everything you ever want to know about the music business.
It's
It's
still
got
relevant, written that long
it's
ago.
well, because it really hasn't changed that much. I mean, in terms of what's going on out there. I mean, by the time it takes something to, look at our Congress, for God's sake. I mean, by the time it gets something changed, I won't be around because,
Right.
as a matter of fact, the publishers, songwriters, we go down to Washington to lobby, to try
Right.
to, get something changed that was done in the 40s. These things were done in the 40s. But anyway, so I kind of knew from reading, I just came out of school. That's all we did was read,
Right.
and take notes, what you should and shouldn't do, And I also had some people like Dion from the Belmonts, I won't say he took me under his wing, but he certainly gave me some great advice,
Yeah.
And I listened, so we learned. So I pretty much said, look, here's the deal. You came to this club, which at that time was called the Barge out in Long Island. You really like what you heard, didn't you? Okay, so why are you going to put somebody else in charge?
Right.
I said, and I had to say that to people who I loved and admired their work, like Phil Spector. Man, that was tough because, wow. I mean, what a producer. I mean, that is a producer. But I said, damn it, I don't want you to change. You like what you hear, don't you? Well, let me do it.
Yeah.
Of course, I used the word we then instead of I. But I put my foot down. As a matter of fact, I got kicked in the leg by a certain member of the band who should remain when we turned down some of these deals, But I really wanted to continue the experiment of sound that we and I had. This sounds great, doesn't it? Well, let's do it then.
Right. Why change it? Yeah. And when you get a guy like Phil Spector saying that he wants to produce you, you usually don't say no. And that's pretty. I admire that so much because you had a belief and you didn't want to be the wall of sound. You wanted to have your own sound. Pretty special. It worked out pretty well, didn't it?
Well, it worked out pretty well, thank God. But like I say, the work that Phil did, like for example, you remember when he did with Paul McCartney, the long and winding road.
Yeah.
That really doesn't sound like Paul. It sounds like Phil.
Right. And it's amazing that a producer had that kind of impact on music that he touched.
Oh yeah.
Pretty great.
Pretty amazing. Well, he goes back all the way, from what I understand. Maybe, a lot of these stories become legendary, maybe not factual, but I was told that he was he was with Lieber and Stoller,
Right.
two phenomenal songwriters at Atlantic Records when the Drifters were doing some of their stuff. He might have been one of the first ones to use strings.
Wow.
Yeah, he might have been at least one of the pioneers of that.
Yeah. And boy, wow, did that take off?
Yeah.
Crazy, pretty crazy. You got streaming, all the ways to access all kinds of music now. When you were doing it, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have, you that was it. You had to get that record deal, and there were a handful of bands. I remember this coming up in myself. You had 75 to 100 bands that were played on the radio. Now you have 75 million bands out there that you can just access at the push of a button. Is that better? Is it easier now for artists to gain enough traction to have a successful career?
I don't know. I really don't. I think it's harder now.
Yeah.
I really do think it's harder. I think I mean, I can only give you my opinions.
Mhm.
My opinion is after Woodstock, uh, the corporations moved in. They realized, wow, that's a big audience out there, man.
There's money
Baby
in
boomers, let's
this.
go get them.
Yeah,
And they put their wonderful little hands into our creative world. So we'll make a band. We can do it. Let's just put it together. We'll get AI.
right,
We'll do
right,
that.
right, right.
And it really changed everything because when you think of, and again, this is my opinion. I mean, like I say,
Mhm.
we used to have this terrible thing called payola.
Yeah,
Okay, well, what is advertising? It's
yeah,
payola. I mean, I'll buy
right,
time on 5 minutes on your station. I don't have to sell M&Ms. I can sell this record.
right.
So now you've got the injection of, well, kind of like our politics. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hey,
of course.
Senator, how about if I give you $500,000? Would that be okay? Why,
Right.
certainly. And you don't even have to put your name on it. So
Yeah,
it's like this friend of mine who wrote this song called "It's Not the Money, It's the Money."
yeah. Yes. That's Henry Gross, isn't it? Yeah,
That's Henry.
yeah, yeah.
You know Henry, huh? Oh boy.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
That's
that's what it's like now. So I mean, it's the same, I guess, as politics. If you don't have the money to run, you're not going to run.
yeah, yeah, right, right. And it takes a lot.
It
Uh,
takes a lot.
it takes a lot. I just watched the Ed Sullivan performance from
Uh,
'66 again, and it is fabulous.
yeah.
And one thing I'd notice, and you were known for this, um, one of the only bands back in that time to not lip sync. Because I think a lot of things were safe back in the day, where don't go off the track. That we want it to sound like this. We're gonna play it. You mime to it, and then do the lip sync, and that was kind of accepted. All that American Bandstand and all those shows, variety shows, that's what happened. You guys didn't want to do that. Did that make things difficult for you when you were getting on those shows?
Well, I really don't know that, because like I say, the other people were in charge of that. It made it difficult when like you went home after the show and you sounded like crap. I mean, the evolution of sound on TV, if you
Right,
look at the early TVs, matter of fact, you can look at the local TVs, the regular TV, the size of the speaker as opposed to the size of the screen tells you all you need to know.
right, right. No
So if you
doubt.
don't enhance it, well, it was tough in those days, sounding good, especially since we didn't have a bass player. I was doing that on the
Right.
organ. It was a little muffled sometimes, and you take pride in it. Like not only the way you look, but the way you sound. And it was tough getting a sound. As time went on, and we started getting shows like uh, trying to remember, there was a great show that came on that was actually done 16 tracks. You know, Don something. Tom, and it was a television program that had music. It was great.
Like
You
Don
know,
Kirshner?
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
As it
Yeah.
evolved, and you get to Letterman shows, but we used to rehearse the darn things in the afternoon, and
Right.
get takes. Uh, that was live; those were live.
Yeah.
So, man, oh man, that was a challenge. And you know, not that I'm anti-union. I'm actually not anti-union, but they didn't make it easy for you to move anything around. You couldn't touch anything on those networks.
Right.
You couldn't move your amp. You couldn't move your mic. Man, that you got to call somebody. Okay, you want to make that a little closer? You know,
Right. Wow.
so it was an interesting time. We were just kids, I mean, like I say,
Right.
we're like, oh wow, look at this, man. Wow, look at this. Where are we? But you got to maintain your creative and musical integrity, and put your foot down every once in a while and say like, hey, wait a minute, wait a minute. We got to do this better.
Yeah, and I think a lot of bands, especially groups, artists, are afraid to do that, and understandably. But like you say, sometimes you have to. It's not easy. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
it's not easy when you go up against like the big networks and stuff like that because like first of all who are we we're just starting.
right, right. You've got covers of Rascal's music all over the place. Pat Benatar comes to mind. You Better Run I thought was sensational.
It
Band
was.
called Angel. Ain't Gonna Eat Out My Heart Anymore. Marvin Gaye, all the classics, doing grooving. Do you listen to those? Do you have
Oh
a
yeah.
favorite? You do. You seek those out?
Well, I mean, basically, you listen to this because it's really a wonderful feeling to know somebody like, for example, Olivia Newton-John doing "How Can I Be Sure," and I think Dusty Springfield did it as well. Yeah, you do. You David Cassidy. You do listen to it, and it's kind of. I think it's a real feather in your cap to have somebody do your music, because good
Absolutely.
songs can be done a lot of different ways. Like we go back to that album, writing with Steve Wariner, who was a country artist.
Right.
Uh, and we wrote this song. We wrote two songs together. We wrote Get On Home, and we wrote another one called Road Trip. When you hear his version of that song, and then you hear my version of that song, it's like I live in Nashville, but nobody really thinks I come from Nashville. The way he does it and the way I did it, it was really cool seeing the difference and hearing the difference, because that's what it's all about. It's the same song,
Right.
with different accents, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your New York comes out in everything you do.
I know.
And you should be proud for sure.
Yeah, that's the way it is. But I mean, seriously, when we would do like a Beatles song on stage in the early days, became an R&B Beatles song.
Yeah.
Why, I don't know.
That's great.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
that's the way it was.
chemistry. Yeah, it's chemistry for sure. Um, I want to go over the Rolling Stone cover, which created a little bit of a rift in the band, from what I understand. You're on the Rolling cover of the Rolling Stone, which is a sensational thing. Um, it's your face on the entire cover with the
Yeah,
band small at the bottom. Were you showing that cover before it was published, and what was your first thought when you saw it?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All I know is that the trouble started before that.
Right.
It's so silly. I
Yeah.
mean, I used to have conversations. I said, look, like we're in the World Series. I'm pitching. We're winning. Shut up.
Right. Right.
You
Don't
know,
change the picture. Just leave them go. Right.
let me go when I need you. Like it's just why are we doing this? Why are we changing? I was perfectly happy and satisfied to be in the back of the band, doing the music and singing the songs. I didn't need to be in the front.
Right.
I'm in the front now, and it's a lot different. I mean, I was in the back there controlling the troops. I loved it.
Yeah.
But the way as fate would have it, they put me on the cover. I don't
Yeah.
even know. All I remember was like, wow, this is cool. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. It was cool. It's great. Yeah.
yeah, it's
I think it's
cool.
great for not only you, it's great for the band. Of course.
It was. No, it was. And
Yeah.
like I say, you keep I mean, it's not only it's marriages, it's like business partners. The famous words. Why can't we get along? Well, what's the problem here?
Right.
We never had any really embezzling or anything like that, or people stealing each other's wives or girlfriends, or anything really serious. So, like that I'm aware of. Maybe I missed something.
No, it is like I say, I mean, the book goes over all of this kind of, the breakup and things like that, but it still remains positive. It wasn't so
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Yeah, I didn't want to go
yeah,
there.
it
Matter of fact,
wasn't
my
so
manager
bad.
said, "Well, like when Eddie left the band, weren't you ticked off?" I said, "You're damn right, I was ticked off." He said, "Well, we got to write that. You got to write that in the book." I said, "Oh, you sure, man?
Uh,
Okay."
yeah, I don't know, because you get that feeling. You really didn't have to say it. You know what I mean? You explain the relationship and the situation, and it's pretty obvious as a reader. That's intuitive for the reader. I think that of
Good.
course, of course you were. You didn't have to go into just just how you were pissed off. That's assumed. So yeah, I appreciated that. Like I say, it
Good. That's
stays
why it
very
was done.
positive. Yeah.
That's why it was done.
Yeah. If you could go back and whisper something in young Felix Cavaliere's ear, back in, around those Ed Sullivan days, 66 in there, what would you say? What would you say to young Felix?
Pay a little more attention before you speak.
There you go. There we go.
Yeah,
That's
because
great advice.
yeah, I mean seriously, that's one of the things, like you really learn over the years. Well, okay, maybe I should just take a deep breath and think, because if you react, sometimes it causes a lot of difficulty. You know,
Right.
that's why if you watch Larry David, see,
Yeah.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. He doesn't stop and think. He just says, you know.
And it causes problems, but some of those are pretty funny.
Well, a lot of people are very uncomfortable watching that show. And my wife's from Arizona, and she doesn't understand that humor. So like, yeah, you're thinking that, but he's saying that.
Right, right. That's
Yeah,
that's good advice. Good
it's
advice.
some good advice. Calm
It
down, buddy. Yeah.
is for sure. Let's say your phone rings a few minutes after we wind up here and wrap it up. Who would you want most on the other end of that call?
Oh wow. Living or not? Yeah.
Living.
Well, I'd say my kids. Right now, like
Beautiful.
with what's going on in our planet right now. Like you say, oh my God. Let's keep everybody safe and sound right now. I don't like what's going on in the world, and I don't like particularly what's going on in our country
Yeah.
because it's 2023 going on 24, and we're still kind of divided. I
Yeah.
mean, wait a second. Like I when I do my stage show now, I introduce a song, that it's a song called "A Ray of Hope" that I had on the album, many years ago.
Mhm.
And I was working for Robert Kennedy's campaign, and he got assassinated, and basically that's where "People Gotta Be Free" came from. And
Right.
"A Ray of Hope" was actually for another Kennedy that I really thought would be. But anyway, I start the song off. I said, I remember when you could write a song without pissing anybody off.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And you can't do that now. I mean, like I say, people say, well, we know where he's coming from. That's it. I'm not letting my kid play with him anymore.
Right.
Play with his kids. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just we need some adults in the room right now,
Yeah.
all
I
over the planet.
completely agree. Completely agree. Yeah, you're afraid to say anything and afraid that I'll be grouped on one side or the other. There is no
Exactly.
middle ground anymore. So most of us were in the middle, from what I remember, but when I was younger. Now there is no middle. So it's a difficult place to exist for sure.
Well, I think there's a big middle. I think that the middle is kind of confused right now, saying like, "My God, maybe I'm going to have to speak up a little bit, say something."
Yeah.
But I think the middle still exists very, very much. Like
Yeah.
too much left, too much right.
Right.
And I think the next elections are going to show that.
Yeah, I think so. I hope the middle speaks up, for sure. I think everybody feels like they have to pick a side, which you really don't. You can live in the middle and exist in the middle. So, well, we'll see what happens. But do you have anything that you've always wanted? You've done so much in your life.
Right.
You've got a wonderful family. You've been all over the world. You've
Yeah.
had, all these accolades and wonderful things in your career. Um, do you have anything that you've always wanted to do? Kind of a number one on the bucket list thing?
I won't say number one on the bucket list, but like basically, I started off in classical music, and I had the opportunity to do a symphony down here of my music, and that was really, really fun, man. I really, really enjoyed it. I'd like to do some more of that. I had all the charts written. I had some very talented people help with that, and that was really something that I like to continue to do, because it's really having 70 people playing
Yeah.
the song with you. That's pretty cool, you know.
That is really
No, as far as bucket list, I just want to keep on creating. If I keep on creating, I think I'll be okay.
man. We all will if you keep on creating.
Well, thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
It is.
Dr. Music.
Yes, yes, and only because of people like yourself.
Well,
Because
thank you.
you really, so much joy in this room for me, and you've contributed to all of that so much. I appreciate you, sir,
Well, thank you. Thank you.
so
Thank you.
much.
And I appreciate you taking the time. I really enjoyed speaking to you.
It's been great. It's been great. And you come back anytime you like. Door is always open. You got tour coming up. You're playing with Gene on November 15th in Wallingford, Connecticut. You got a cruise coming up next year. You are busy. You are busy, busy,
Yeah,
busy.
we're starting to plan our next year now, and hopefully it'll be normal.
Yeah. What is
We'll see.
normal anyway?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we will have links to the website. You can get the book, the album, so much you got going on. Get tickets to those shows. The links will be here. Felix, it's been an absolute honor, sir. Thank you so much.
God bless, my friend. And I
It-
hope to see you in person.
yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait. For sure. I'm looking at that cruise. It sounds pretty darn great.
Yeah, they're fun. It's sold out a year in advance. They're impossible to get on.
Really?
Oh
Wow.
my God, those people have so much fun, man. It's just like, okay, we're leaving the United States of America. Let's rock. You know, and they dress like they did in the 60s and 70s. They act like
Great.
they did, and it's really a sight to see. And then when it hits back to land, they all get back to normal. You know, it's really fun, man. It's sold out a year in advance easily.
Wow.
Amazing. It's
Wow.
called the Flower Power. It's
Yeah.
it's all the oldies but goodies, guys. And if I may, I don't want to keep you, but
Oh
the only
no,
thing
please.
that's the only thing that's sad about it is that as I go to work and I see a lot of my peers and friends, their health,
Yeah.
kind of brings you down a little bit. You see, oh my God,
Right.
look at my man, oh boy, wow.
Yeah.
That you got to sit back and say, thank you, Lord. I appreciate health.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Well,
Health is a big deal.
and let's talk a little bit about that if you got a few minutes. Swami, you made some health decisions then, exercise, diet, things like that. It was a big part of your life. You go over that in the
Absolutely.
book, of course. That is, you look great now. You sound great, you look great. You're doing all of this activity. You got to be feeling pretty well. That was a big decision in your life, wasn't it?
Well, it was, and as I mentioned in the book, I spoke to George Harrison about that decision because he made that decision also, you know, and I asked him if it was, for real because I was about to jump in the water with my whole body.
Right.
It's very simple. It's a mental, physical, spiritual health.
Yeah.
That's it. If you take care of those three things, like you should be okay, at least genetically, you know,
Right.
up to whatever your DNA and RNA, all that stuff is. But I mean, you should at least take care of yourself. I had a tough year health wise. I had some things I had to deal with, and I'm still going, man. So God bless, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Many prayers for you, sir. Yeah, I hope your health continues to be well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope to see you out there on the road for sure.
Thank you very much.
Felix, thank you. Always welcome. Come on back, and we'll do it again. A pleasure.
Thanks for being a musicologist.
Yes, yes,
We need
absolutely.
you. We
Yeah, yeah,
need you.
yeah, for sure. All right, Felix, thank
Take
you.
care, man.
Take
Have a
care.
good one. God
You
bless.
too.
See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.